Greetings and welcome to Jesse I Interviews. I'm Jesse I, and for all who don't know, this is a podcast designed to showcase the many reggae and related interviews that I've done over the last few decades. All interviews are presented here completely unedited from the time I hit record to the time I hit stop. I produce this podcast on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and I want to pay my respects to the First Nations people of these lands here in so-called Australia. This episode features a giant of Jamaican music, the man behind Penthouse Records, Mr. Donovan Germain. I first met Donovan back in 2002 when I was at Beres Hammond's house. He came and hung out for a couple hours while I was there, just sitting down and drinking a couple beers. I told him about my radio show. He said I should be sure to visit his record pressing plant, which was separate from the studio, and to get some music to take home. I was a huge record collector at the time, and I'd recently started a business selling Jamaican 7-inch singles in Melbourne, so there was no way I was going to pass up that offer, but it turned out even better than I'd hoped. When I rocked up the next day at Penthouse Records, I told the receptionist who I was, and she said, "Oh yes, Mr. Germain said you were coming. He said to just take what you want." I'd love to be able to see my face in that moment. I'm sure I was trying to play it cool on the outside, but on the inside I was bouncing up and down. I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm not sure how long I was there, but it was a warehouse of 45s, shelf after shelf stacked up to the sky, and I took my time. I went through every box. I wasn't greedy. I didn't take any stuff I didn't really need or didn't really want, but I still walked out of there with about a bootload of record boxes, and there were some tunes in there I'd been looking for years. That was an experience I'll never forget, and I'm still grateful to Donovan Germain for that. This interview comes 10 years after that though, and I recorded this one at Penthouse Records studio. Listening back to it now, I wish it was longer. This is one of those interviews where I can think of a bunch of questions I should have asked. For someone of his stature in the business, it just feels way too brief. That said, I think it's definitely worth a listen. So let's do it. Jesse I interviews Donovan Germain back in July 2012. Okay. So anytime you're ready. I just got a brand new recorder, and the microphones here are better than the one that I carry around, so this is good. So, okay, good?
Yeah. Do you care if your hand is sometimes in the way?
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
Although it's probably, I've got to get the audio as a priority, so. Okay, I'm here at Penthouse Records in Jamaica with one of the most important producers in the history of reggae music, one of the most important record labels from Penthouse Records, Donovan Germain. Thank you for speaking to me.
You're welcome. You give me some big shoes to stand in.
Well earned, seriously. I'd like to take things back to the beginning always and find out how you became involved in the music industry.
Actually, I lived in the States 1970. And I got a part-time job in a record store on St. John's Place in Brooklyn. That's where my first interaction with the music industry began.
Okay.
And from there, that was I was selling as a clerk, selling records over the counter. Mm-hmm. And I got into distribution. Then I got into manufacturing. Then I got into production. Then I got into management. That's the whole sequence musically in a nutshell.
Okay. What about in Jamaica?
Well, I came to Jamaica in 1988. Started Penthouse.
Okay.
That's after I was in England for about. I had some hits in England, and then I decided I wanted to come to Jamaica to start the company here in Jamaica.
Right.
So I decided to come to Jamaica in 1988.
What were you mentioned the hits in the UK? What labels were they out
Germain.
on? Okay. Yeah.
Germain. Yeah.
Yep. So, back in 1988 in Jamaica, it was all digital, the music industry at that time.
No, I was at analog.
Okay, you're still working.
Analog
production, but the live band thing by that stage had sort of faded out.
Well, I was doing both, basically. Okay. You know, I never really gave up on live recording because the studio was built to accommodate live musicians.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, with the live instrument thing is an interesting thing in reggae. Looking back at the history of Penthouse Records, the rhythms you're doing now feel like more of a live sound than in the early 90s, for example.
Well, they're all live, that's why.
So you made a conscious decision to move to more live instrumentation?
Yes, because with the digital situation, everybody sounds alike.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I decided it gives more creative expression and freedom to the musicians, to, especially the drummer, to do things that would be a programmed thing on a drum machine.
Yeah.
So I went back to live recording.
Right. So what musicians do you work with in Penthouse mainly?
I use Ian from C Sharp Band, Kirk Bennett that plays with Barry Samuels Band, and I use Ranoy that plays with Stephen Marley, and I use Khan, who does work with freelance. That's basically what I use. I use Lenky, and now I'm working with Dean Fraser, who does all my brass section.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's one of the things I want to ask you about is reggae, the state of reggae music in this day and age. It feels to me like reggae in Jamaica in the last 4 or 5 years has really, really declined, and it's really Penthouse Records and Shane Brown and Jukebox keeping real reggae music alive. What do you think about that?
I would tend to want to agree with you to some extent. One of the problem we're having is that with the advent of everybody having a computer in their house, there's no more the quality control has gone through the window. Everybody's a producer right now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the radio disc jockeys have a lot to decipher what's good from what's not good. Because like in any other industry, there's good and there's bad. So it's a matter of disc jockeys making a conscious effort that we are going to invest in quality as opposed to investing in an artist's name. Because there's a lot of young artists that are making good material that's not getting played because they have the so-called name. So it's a situation where it has to be a collaborative effort. This track is deciding that they are going to be supporting certain label that the figure is doing quality recordings, as opposed to supporting a popular DJ and a song or a label that they might be a friend with. In essence, we have to decide to put the music first, as opposed to just doing what we're doing right now.
Well, the other thing with the advent of, like you say, computers in everybody's house is digital downloading. And from speaking to Jack Scorpio and Bobby Digital, and Jack was telling me the reason that he stopped producing is because he can't make money anymore. It's nobody's buying records. Everybody downloads music for free. So as a producer, how do you, with the industry having changed so much with free downloads and everything, how do you actually make it viable to actually make money from music now?
Well, I have a set of artists that I'm developing, because at the end of the day, the only way I'm going to make some money is from live performance. No, but I have to get a new set of artists, develop them to the point that they can come and earn some money for the company. So I'm really basically investing in for the future. That's what I'm doing right now.
Yep. And of course the artists in the Penthouse camp, Romain Virgo, Exco Levi, Torch, and
yes, Sharita, RC, Sugar, musical artists.
Right. Looking back at some of the previous Penthouse productions, of course you worked with Beres and Buju and Marsha Griffiths, Tony Rebel, and really are responsible for some of the biggest anthems in reggae history. You must feel pretty proud as a producer knowing you've contributed so much to the genre. Is there anything in particular that you're proud of? Are there any recordings in particular?
You know what gives me the most satisfaction is being able to give unknown person an opportunity to make good with their life. I don't get caught up in the music, because my motto is quality has no fear of time. You understand me? So we just come in the studio, we try and make a quality song. It might not, because of the politics of the radio, might not get any love today. But if it's a quality song, it will withstand time, right? So that's one of the things. I don't really get caught up in making anthems. I get like this young gentleman still walking. He was the youngest winner of the Rising Stars, Dalton Harris.
Okay.
To me, coming from a background of poverty, and bringing, establishing an artist that the world can appreciate, to me that's the most satisfying, as opposed to a song.
Right.
Because there's a human element in it, to me, is more important. So somebody gave me a chance to be able to do what I'm doing now. So I think I should be giving someone a chance to accomplish their dreams. And that's what I'm a facilitator for that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to ask you about is 7-inch records, vinyl. In the old days, it used to be the way that reggae music was played. Now it's all laptops and computers and everything.
I guess it's the natural progression of life. You know, sometimes we might try to hold on to the old stuff. Remember, you can be doing an interview on a phone now, as opposed to you have to be in a controlled environment doing this interview. So it's a matter of, you know, technology moving forward, and if we don't move forward, we're gonna get left behind.
Yeah.
I'm inside here, you know. I'm transferring all of my analog tapes to the computer.
Okay.
You know, and to be honest with you, if I had one regret in music industry, is that I did not embrace technology earlier.
Okay.
Because when you think that if I'm mixing a song and tomorrow I listen to it and I figure there's like a tweak that needs to be done. In the old days, I'd have to go back and do the start from scratch, doing this whole mixing again, and I might not get back the sound to tweak the part I want.
Right.
With the advent of the computer, I can just go bring up the file and tweak the part I want to tweak, and I'm good. So that from that standpoint, that's my own one regret, that I did not embrace it. That it should have been embraced. It's a natural progression. Why are we going to fight it? You know. At the end of the day, all I've tried to do is be creative. At the end of the day,
yeah,
and move with the technology.
Another thing I want to ask you about is in the 90s, Penthouse used to put out a lot more dancehall rhythms, and in recent years, it's been more reggae. Have you? What was the decision to sort of stop producing dancehall? Was it just that there's too much being produced?
Exactly. So at the end of the day, you have to separate yourself from everything that's happening out there, and everyone is doing one genre of music, and at the end of the day, Bob Marley gave the world reggae. The world embraced reggae. So I found what was happening, that we were discarding reggae for dancehall, and I think in life you must be a balance in everything. So I figure I'm gonna steadfastly be a reggae producer. A lot of people doing other stuff. I can't do everything, and I think that I grew up with reggae, so it instinctively I can appreciate a nice reggae song, as opposed to a youngster coming and have to learn what it is like to appreciate it. You know? So I made a conscious decision that I'm gonna be doing straight reggae right now.
Well, the latest Penthouse Rhythm on the Road, 958, if memory serves.
9.58.
Yeah, 9.58. Yeah. And of course, the Busy Signal Reggae Music Again was the first one to drop on that rhythm. And reggae music again, that's what we love to hear. You know, we're starving for reggae music these days. What's next from Penthouse?
I'm actually doing a Skia project. Straight Skia with Marcia Griffiths, Tessan Chain, RC, all the young artists. And I'm actually doing a CD by the name of 5 Decades of Jamaican Musical Heritage.
Okay.
Which I love: Mento, Skia, Rocksteady, Reggae, Dancehall, the whole evolution of the music. That's coming up for sometime later this month. So that's basically that. But I'm trying to. When you listen, there's 800 Skia bands outside in the world, and we give the world Skia. We're not doing anything with it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the same with dub music, you know. The dub music is huge all over the world, except in Jamaica.
Exactly. So why try to reinvent the wheel? You know, well, again, still, you're a disc jockey in the radio, right? It's also boils down to the commitment of the disc jockeys and the radio to play the music, because a lot of stuff. I'm making this Skia album now, and I'm certain you're gonna have some people say, "Oh, it don't fit in my format." What's the format?
Well, my format, I do a 2-hour radio program. The first hour is dedicated to classic, vintage, oldies, the forgotten music of the 70s and everything. And then the second half is the more modern side, so the new rhythms and so on, but not necessarily all new. You know, I can go back and play, you know, the rhythms from the late 90s, the reggae rhythms of that time.
I think owners should be on playing good music.
Well, ultimately, that's what it is.
Yeah, you know, it shouldn't be that you tell me that this won't fit in my format. Every music fits in the format. It's what you want to play. You know, if your commitment is to good music, you're gonna play. If a music is good, you play it.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
That's it.
Yeah, so I'm making it. If you don't play the Jamaica, I'm certain there's someone out there, somewhere in the world, who will have an appreciation of it and play it somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my position.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
All right, give thanks.
Yeah, man.
Donovan Germain of Penthouse Records speaking to me there back in 2012. That's it for another episode. A shout out to any new listeners hearing this on YouTube Music. When I first started the podcast a few years ago, I was uploading them to YouTube separately, but I stopped that after a while as it was just too much extra work. Now they should all upload automatically. Please be aware though that YouTube does mute some of the copyrighted music, especially in some regions. So for the best listening experience, a regular podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Podbean is still probably the best option. If you'd like to support the podcast and help keep this oral history of Jamaican music going, you can support the show on Patreon for as little as a few bucks a month. Check out patreon.com/Jesse_I_interviews. On that note, a huge shout out to my patrons, the Don Armageddon Time, the Real General Empress Ivory, me Idrin Tom Tadiki, and me Chargy DJ Pablito. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Eyes as every time.